we're going to still see about how they made the snake. Remember when it's going to come in the Pentateuch, making a snake, and then so after they were bitten by the snake, and then God told Moses to make a snake and to look at the snake, then there will be. And then in John 3, God used that snake of Moses being lifted up, like what will happen to him. But they're going to take that bronze snake and they're going to start worshipping it and giving it a name. Something good intended by God is going to be turned into another God that they're worshipping. They're going to have the golden calf soon. Another God they're worshipping. So, the danger. They were in Egypt, the last plague. What did they have to do? They had to put the blood on the doors, the doorposts. And they had to eat no leavened bread. Okay? So that was a sign for them of the ultimate, the leaving out of Egypt. Okay? The sign of being set free ultimately by God. That was the blood and the bread. Okay? And that is as well communion, blood and bread. But they're going to change it into something else. They're going to think, oh no, let's see what happened during this time. The blood that we put on the doorpost and that unleavened bread, that is what saved us. So that is what we need to keep doing. That is the thing that saved us. Not God, not the angel coming, and not the pointing forward ultimately to the Son on the cross. But the blood of an animal that saved him. So God is telling him here, they're not supposed to do that. They mustn't mix these things that happened to them during that leaving period, mix it together and think that this is a thing that we can use in future to save us. That's the danger. That is why God, there's no ark to be found. It doesn't matter how there's all these stories about ark here, ark there, found it kind of, Noah's ark. Nonsense. There's no need for it. There's no ark of the covenant. We can't find any of these things. It's all gone. And then this stupid shroud of Turin as well. A fake. Not the fake, the shroud exists, but that's not Jesus there. Whatever. And there's nothing of that. Pictures of Jesus. Oh man, this house, I spoke in another video this morning with the Roman Catholics down the road here, with their Jesus and Mary and the garlands around it. Are they Hindus or are they Buddhists or are they Christians? What the hell are they? And again, if we look at Roman Catholics saying, oh, that's so bad, or Hindus, other religion. But then we want, and I've read so many books of it, awakening in our Western countries, South Africa, America. We want a revival. We always pray for revival. So what do is we wrote tons. We go and look at previous revivals, and we wrote tons of books about previous revivals and how they came about. And then we think, okay, now if we have, therefore we know how it happened in the past, we take that same way and we repeat it now. And it ought to work, because it worked in the past. Like this, the blood of a doorpost. It worked in the past, so if we keep on doing it, using that as a tool, the naming of the God, right? Those all the same, it's the same idea. We keep on doing it, then maybe we can manipulate this God, and He's going to work, and then He owes us because He sees we're doing it exactly. God doesn't work. He doesn't. If He repeats things twice, so for clarity, well, not for clarity, to show us the importance of it, but things that God is God. He can do whatever He wants to. He can bring another revival in a totally different way. You can't go and scientifically that this is the way it happened now, and God said science. God created science. How can you, with science, try to manipulate God or with the past? God can bring a revival. Yes, we need to pray for revival. Yes, but it can happen in a total different way than it happened in the past. Total different way, in a total different place. Because God is God. Okay? And this is the danger. What could have happened here with this animal? Yes, there is the life of an animal in it and all of those things. Yes, all those things are true. But the context here, right? The leavened, and then the fat of the feast remains, because they're supposed to eat everything. Remember that lamb, just as much as they can eat. They weren't supposed to leave anything behind. So that's the third thing, the blood, the bread, and then the food they ate and the leaving. Okay, so this is what we now will try and replicate. Right? Yeah, so this is ultimately the danger of this all. Is ways of God that worked in the past, we try to replicate in the present and think now He ought to do it the same. And you ought to be thankful that we are trying to replicate it. Right? God is God. There's no one like Him. Okay. Yeah, the fat of, just say, because in that case they had to eat the whole animal, not leave anything. But now the danger is, right, that they can try to lengthen this feast into the next day. So for that to happen, they need to have, right, they need to have something more left. Now, yes, I know there's opinions about this one. Again, commentary I read where the guy said, but they believe that the life of a man is in his blood, as God said it is, and therefore the strength of a man is in his blood. And so if you drink that, then you get a longer life or a strong life. Yes, there are certain groups where they eat the hearts of their enemies. Yes, all these kinds of things. And these things, yeah, people believe, and God said it's life, don't eat it. And so they bake this guy going in, they put the blood in bare bread and to eat it like that and all kinds of things. And no, I don't think that in the context here is anything to do with it. I think here in this context, plain because of what they could make, because this is what they saw, and therefore they would want to replicate it and come up with this whole thing ultimately. Replicate God's previous way of doing it and start worshipping that previous way and trying to replicate it. And the added replication here is to keep some of this food so that they can go through the night with this. They have still some in the morning left to eat. Okay, so we don't pray only 5 minutes, we pray for an hour, because maybe an hour might work better, God will hear better, and now since we prayed an hour, God ought to answer. Verse 19 then, the first fruits that they need to bring. Okay, well, yeah, here as well, sure, the danger is that, I mean, they could not bring any fruit there at that stage. God already explained that the first son belongs to Him, and for the animals as well. And so, yeah, that is kind of a simple, straight way of how to show God. But remember, after that first harvest, they had to bring the first fruit. And no one is going to know how much first fruit they have. No one is going to know how big the first fruit, how many potatoes they were, or how many wheat there is first fruits, right? No one is going to know that. How it looked like that. They can come up, bring because of the fear for what might happen tomorrow, they can bring the worst of it to God. So in trying to again manipulate what God said by bringing what is not the best to God, in that way we show, like Ananias and Sapphira later on in Acts, that we worship God, like we're like you. But in actual fact, you are not. You are lying to God. Because you're not lying to God, to man, you're lying to God. So that's then a warning to them. Okay? Don't take what happened in the past and try to replicate it. Start worshipping that. Trying to use that to manipulate me. Don't come and lie to me concerning what you have and what you don't have in your first fruits. But I want to see that you trust me, not the specific deed and how, well, not so much, but the how a specific deed was done in the past. Trust that. Your trust is not in that blood and that unleavened bread and the meat you ate all. Your trust is not in keeping back some of the first fruit and bringing me the worst and playing the game as if I don't see. Right? No. You need to trust me. me alone.